The limiting factor isn't the business, it's you.
You did nearly 50K in the month of December. This is like 5 months in. So the trajectory we're heading toward is a $1 million year.
Business does not reward tire kickers. So if you're a tire kicker, I'm sorry, you need to change your mindset.
Welcome to Legacy Launchpad, where kingdom-minded entrepreneurs build profitable businesses without compromising faith or family. I'm Leah McHenry. Let's build your legacy together.
Hey, welcome to Legacy Launchpad, and I have a very special guest today, which is my darling eldest son of my 5 kids. He's my oldest, and I thought I would interview him today because of some fun things that happened this year. He's 19, turning 20 in this year now that we're in 2026. So I can't believe to say that I have a 20-year-old. That's just bizarre, for one. But I wanted to bring him on this podcast today because he has really taken things up like 10 notches in terms of joining the family business, the family venture, being very entrepreneurial himself. And my audience actually had questions for him. So I thought, why don't we just do this on a podcast and then you can get all your questions answered. I think he can speak to a lot to do with just homeschooling, being raised in a homeschool family. What is that like? And being like a super creative person, just our style of schooling and how that has fed into, his current pursuits, the way that is being enmeshed in the family business in a good way, and like his role. And then a very exciting thing, which is what prompted all the questions, which is that back 6 months ago, we started a side brand in our business. And in that side brand, it's a second candle company, completely different niche. And it's we've never done it before. So I got that going. It took 30 days from idea to launch. Do you remember, Ryder, me having the conversation? You were in the car when I mentioned it to Dad in the car. And I was like, what would happen if we tried it's slow season. What if we did a patriotic brand or something completely different because we have extra capacity? Do you remember that?
I do remember there was a conversation. I think I mostly remember when you were launching it.
Yeah. So, you were in the car at the time because I remember we were driving over to see the house that we bought. And so it was in that conversation on the drive over. That's why I remember it so clearly. But anyways, you were in there. Maybe we were in the back doing something else. But anyway, we were driving together and I had this idea and I had woke up and then I was thinking about it. It was one of those nights where I couldn't sleep well. And I had this idea in my brain about starting another brand. And that's not something I would normally have thought of, but it's summertime is like slow season for candles. So I thought, well, we got extra capacity. What if we know how to do this? Like, I know how to market, we just got to find a passionate audience. So from that conversation, it was early June to July 4th. We launched the brand on July 4th. So 30 days from the time of idea in my head to launching a brand to an audience that had already put up their hand and said, yes, tell me when it launches. I want to buy this. So that's part of my whole methodology is building the audience first, then launching to them. Don't build the product and then hope somebody buys it. That's the whole thing I do, right? What coaching, courses, e-commerce products, all of it all works. So then in that first 30 days, I don't think you were too involved in that first 30 days of the launch. I think it was mostly me, and you at that point still had a job and you were doing some other studying and you were heavily focused on your YouTube channel. What was going on at the time?
At the time, maybe a few weeks after you had officially launched Resistance Candles, that we knew we were going to move to a new house. And I was also finishing up this course, this program that I was going through for YouTube. And so it kind of made sense to quit my job at the time and to join the family business just because of the trajectory that we knew that we were going to go into in the upcoming season and in the years to come.
Yeah. And in my view, I was like, well, you can keep doing what you're doing. You're getting great work experience. And I think it's healthy to sometimes work maybe outside the home and see what it's like working for other people. And so that was all fine and dandy. But it was like, you can keep doing that, or you could join forces with us and we go all in together. You're going to hone your skills. You'll get direct input from Dad and I. You will have a stake in the business. And as soon as certain things are structured, you're going to be a stakeholder in the company. You're going to be, a board member. You're going to have all of it. Why not have your full buy-in as a partner in everything we do? And that way we're not like diluting our effort, diluting our resources, our capacity. And you're going to have something, down the line, like when you get married or whatever, you're going to have like a business already that you're majorly a part of. You're not starting from scratch and trying to figure out what to do with your life at age 25, right? Like you're going to have so much like under your belt already, and you're going to feel like you're really a part of something from the ground level. So I took the opportunity, and then you thought about it. You're like, yeah, this is a great opportunity. I want to do it. So that made me super happy because, I mean, we would have figured out a way to, add it into what we're already doing. But I loved that you wanted to take some ownership of this. So what's really exciting, the reason I brought you on today is because between you and Electra mostly, and the girl and the other sisters are involved at a minimal amount, you have taken this brand from beginning. So after that first month, you came on, and in under 6 months, it has now crossed the multiple six-figure mark. So we just crossed over the $200,000 mark. And a good chunk of that time was during the slow season, the off season for candles. So candle season really begins in like October, November. That's when candle season really fires up. And so a good chunk of that time was like during the summer, which is not, it was the time of year we were in. So we just launched it. But that was kind of the story. So you, in terms of like what you've done with it, I mean, I'm so proud of you. I have to brag about you all the time. It's just a great case study of, following directions, following a system, honing your skills, and yeah, like anything is possible, and even for beginners. So I know you consider yourself fairly beginner. Just on the basis, like how we got here, how would you describe what's it been like being homeschooled your whole life? Would you want to homeschool your own kids?
Oh, absolutely.
If you're like, no, I'd be like, oh.
No, I think, of course, when people object to homeschooling, point to bad examples, that goes to show what the parents' approach was to homeschooling. But I think with the approach, at least in my experience, that you guys have taken with us, is encouraging buy-in in the family mission. And of course, that's been growing as you guys have been learning more about what that means for us as a family. But buy-in. So if you buy into the mission, you're naturally going to want to learn and follow in the footsteps of your predecessors. And then lifelong learning, encouraging learning. So I guess we didn't, as teens, looking back, of course, there was probably maybe a mix of like the attitude that comes through that season of life. But I guess it wasn't as pronounced because you encouraged this mindset of learning. It encouraged humility and just like having an open mind to learning the wisdom from those who have gone before you. So that has been a major part.
Cool. Now, what would you say, what's life been like growing up with entrepreneurial parents? Be honest.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking how you've told me two things, that marriage and business, so number two, are like a magnifying glass times 20 when you put them both together. And so I'm just thinking, being growing up in a household with entrepreneurial parents, you kind of get a little bit of that yourself, being the kid, because you're learning through osmosis and you're seeing the things going on in a daily basis, the lessons learned, faulty beliefs being challenged in the parents as they're going through life and learning about business and growing, learning, making mistakes. And so you take on some of that and you're able to see firsthand some of the growing pains that your parents are going through in their businesses. And so growing up with entrepreneurial parents, you take on some of that and learn some of it.
Yeah. And are you saying that you feel like you're under a magnifying glass, or that you're learning the lessons through the parents learning the lessons?
Exactly. Yes.
Which one?
Well, yeah, you're through your parents going through all those things, you're learning kind of secondhand what they're going through. So you get to see them being under the microscope of business and marriage together, and you get to see those things.
Wasn't I just saying the other day, I was like, yeah, so marriage is already basically a character boot camp, but you add business to it. It's a character boot camp, but with one of those like 20x mirrors where it's all up in your face and it's a magnifying glass. You're looking at every pore, so it's like if someone is not interested in personal development, you should never be a business owner. Just
Mhm.
forget about it.
That's true. Yeah.
So, yeah, you got a magnifying glass plus a mirror, and so you're just constantly getting a reflection of your character, your motives, your limiting beliefs. It's all coming back at you and magnified, right? Our results, the relationships, like little tiffs and arguments, like all these things that come up are a result of that character and the beliefs and the mindset. So, no, you said that well. So, we talked about what led you to being in charge of this business. Dad and I wanted a little bit of help, but we also wanted to give you opportunity. And that's when you're like, okay, I'm going to quit my job and I want to go all in on this. So that was a really exciting moment for me. And did it feel like you were thrown in the deep end of the pool, like sink or swim?
Yeah, to put it lightly, that was well, I mean, the past 6 months have been the most challenging character-wise, but that was a leap of faith for sure because it was so outside of my comfort zone of, like, quitting this security that I thought it was for something completely new. It was uncharted territory, but I knew that if I want to go, there are things that I want to do, and they require more character growth than I currently had and more skills that I did not have. But also buying into the family vision meant that I could achieve those things at a faster rate. So I knew that it was just the best choice to make.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And it is true that it is a faster route. And I will say, by the way, that's how we taught you to swim the first time was we threw you in a pool.
Yeah.
So we're just continuing the
Yeah.
tradition.
Yeah. No choice but to sink or swim.
And when we did that one time, this is no joke because I don't know, we couldn't afford a lot of swimming lessons and stuff when you guys were little. And then one time, and then after we made we made a business successful like really fast in that first year. And we took our first like family vacation and we rented an Airbnb in Arizona and they had a pool. And we're like, oh my goodness, this is gonna be great. Like they'll learn to swim. And so we threw you in the pool and there we were. And, at first, like, kids are a little trepidatious. And then next thing I know, you're like doing somersaults and you're diving off the edge. So I've always found, at least with you, throw you in, just throw you in, but not unattended, right? So that's the difference between, I think, negligence and maybe some wisdom is throw you in and stand right there and make sure that you don't actually sink and make sure that, there's some guidance there. So that's what we did in this situation. Now, the reason I entrusted you with this, and I was saying this on an earlier coaching call that I had, was because I would never just put one of my kids who has never demonstrated they have character qualities and put them in a position of, where it's very consequential or it could like make or break us. This was a learning opportunity for you, and it's not our core business. It's not like the main business we have, although I think this next year, it'll start competing. I think it's going to start to compete with our other main business because of the trajectory and you're learning so much. And so, but you, from the time you were young, you took responsibility seriously. And so from the time you were like, I have videos of when you were like 8 years old, washing the dishes by hand because we didn't have a dishwasher at the time. We had pink carpet and renting this house with no dishwasher. You remember exactly what I'm talking about. Washing the dishes, singing, Star Wars meets Minecraft, some song you were inventing in your head. But you were doing your work with joy. And those are the moments that I was like, yes, thank you, Lord. Thank you. Like to me, that was a sign that we were training you right, that you were taking pride in your work and you were enjoying the work and you were doing things with excellence. So all of those young moments have led up to this moment where we're entrusting you something important and giving you real responsibility, not fake responsibility. Like it's real. Like you could burn through all the ad budget by accident. Like there's a lot of things that could go wrong. But because we have relationship and all that pre-work, all these years of it, of discipleship and all these years of what I call apprenticeship, like character apprenticeship, we're at this point where I fully trust that you're going to be able to figure stuff out. And because I think we have this environment of learning where you can learn anything you need to learn. So if you don't have the answer, you know how to figure it out. You know where to go to get the answers. And that's another important part of the environment that we've tried to curate is create an environment where where kids are not helpless, but where they can learn how to find answers to things, which I think, if you just teach your kids that one thing, that's going to set them apart from 99% of the population that don't know anything and have to, like, don't know how to get answers. So that's a big part of this. Let's talk about, what is your current role? What are your daily tasks? Like, what are the main things you're in charge of?
So my current role, I'm kind of a jack of all trades in a sense, but mainly I'm doing the marketing. So emails, ads. We're going to be branching out to sponsorships more and more as the year goes on. So things like that. I write all the copy, I make the creatives. So I'm in the thick of all the marketing.
In C-suite terms, we'd probably call you the chief marketing officer, right? And in a small startup, they do everything, right? They're wearing all the hats of the marketing. So you're running the ads, you're doing all the creatives, like you said, you're planning every campaign, every email, every text, everything. And then describe what the other siblings are doing.
So Electra, she's the second oldest. She's kind of my sidekick. She helps me out with emails as needed. So I'll give her some direction. We'll go back and forth and she'll help me draft stuff up. So if we're having a really busy season, that comes in handy because then there's someone to help you out so you don't get bogged down in all the weeds. She also helps with product development, so designing labels, coordinating with our label designer, things like that. And she does do social media too. And that actually does tie in with the other two girls. They also help out with social media as well.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of customer service in chats and DMs and managing the community as well. So it's a great learning, and as you notice, like with the younger they get, the less responsibility there is because they're still in what I consider major character training. So it's like, hey, if I still have to remind you to do your laundry on your day, I'm not going to put you in charge of something super important. Like,
Right.
you know, there's a direct correlation, in my opinion. So we work on these things of like, hey, I don't like micromanaging my kids. I want them to manage themselves. And I think this is a really big part of what has made things work for us and what's worked for you is the fact that I don't micromanage. And it's like, you know, to me, the home life forms all the shaping of how someone becomes as an adult, for good or for worse, right? Like in my childhood or other people's some of them had terrible childhoods. And it's not like you're destined to that, but it certainly forms the basis of your character. So I'm still working on the laundry day thing. Like, hey, it's not perfect in our house. We still have to, get organized. Each kid has a laundry day and each kid has a cooking day. And so these things correlate with responsibility. So, but they are actively involved. They're learning the basics of customer service, the younger two, the basics of even selling. I've taught the girls how to sell in chats and the DMs. And really, we're just offering like 5-star concierge service to our customers. And it's beyond what nobody else is doing this. So it really helps us stand out like crazy. People are like amazed that we do that. So that's a lot of responsibility you have. You are doing like a full-blown role, which is super exciting. Very proud of you. You're doing a great job. And in this last 6 months, what would you say would be like the top 3 things you've learned maybe about yourself or about business, what it takes to run a business?
I would say two things come to mind at first. The first thing is I developed a lot more respect for the work that you and dad have done over the past decade. Like I had no idea how much effort and time and energy went into building a business. And I learned how ignorant I was and how much of a lack of appreciation I had. And so going through the school of hard knocks and building a business to 6 figures taught me a lot of respect and humility because I learned that I know nothing about business. And so going back to that, encouraging that attitude of lifelong learning, it taught me to appreciate much more what you guys have done for me and actually to pay more attention. And so over the past 6 months, you could probably attest to this, but coming to you guys for more guidance and really tuning into your feedback when it comes to mistakes that I've made along the way. And so that's been a big part. Number 2, there's been a lot of faulty mindsets that have been challenged. So, one of the things that I have struggled with since I can remember is I don't have enough time. Or, it's just like I'm already at capacity right now when that's not true. I said that when I was 15. I said that when I had my job back before I quit it. I said that even learning the business. And I was like, I just can't do anything more. Just it's too much. And then learning that actually that's not true. My days might be busy and I might be exhausted at the end of it, but I still have more to give. Like I'm not tapped out.
Mhm.
There's my capacity has grown dramatically. And so I can look back when I had my little job before I joined the family business and I can say, yeah, I didn't have it straight. I was essentially making up this. It was a confirmation bias. I was saying, see, I don't have enough time to do XYZ. So
Then your
there's,
brain would find more evidence of that
yes,
statement.
yeah. And so learning how to grow this business, Resistance Candles, has shown me how much more capacity I actually have. And so it has taught me to use my time more wisely. And it has taught me how to give more with what I already have. So that's been a big thing.
Mhm.
Marketing is a lot more cool than I thought it was. So that's the third thing is when you learn marketing, it opens up so many other opportunities. Like I could think of, I mean, I know it's adding on to what I know for YouTube. It's opening up paths. Like if I want to expand YouTube into another full-time business, I know how I could do that.
Right.
Not just on the YouTube side, but on the back end too. Because now I know marketing with ads and all of that.
Yeah, because if some people don't know, my audience doesn't know, you have a, what do you call it, like a video essay style channel where you give
Yes.
commentary on pop culture and Christians in the film industry and that kind of thing?
Yes. It's an exploration of movies and media from a Christian perspective.
Right, that's great. So you're seeing the transferability of the skills you're learning right here and thinking, "Okay, I can actually go and use this for anything."
Mhm. Yeah. It's a very versatile skill.
Mhm. Well, those are excellent 3 lessons and takeaways so far. I'm sure if we come back in another 6 months, I'm betting we're gonna be close to the $1,000,000 mark at this rate because, I mean, December, you brought in this is all you. I had nothing to do with this. You did nearly 50K. 50K in the month of December. This is like 5 months in, 5.5 months in. You did almost $50,000. So the trajectory we're heading toward is a $1,000,000 year, like a $1,000,000 calendar year. So I have no doubt we'll get there, and I'm already very proud of you. I mean, I just think, like, you know, the character traits I've seen in you is that you went all in. To me, I saw you go from something kind of magical happened when you made that buy-in decision, and you were like, "I'm gonna go all in on this. I'm gonna take responsibility." And I know there was a couple moments you felt a little overwhelmed by that. I know we had, like, some good talks, some really good talks. I was like, Ryder, this is gonna be great. I had to give you the encouragement, the pep talk a little bit. And I think you're probably pleasantly surprised about how well it worked, right? So one of my clients' questions for you was, how did it feel like taking directions from your mom, like doing it her way, your parents' way, kind of like, did you feel any resistance around that? Were you like, how did you handle that?
Well, it ties back to the first lesson that I was talking about, where I knew that I had no experience. And also growing up in this household, knowing that you've made millions upon millions of dollars with a bunch of businesses, I knew that if anyone knew what they were doing, then it would be you and dad. So there was no doubt in my mind that I had to follow what you told me would work.
Cool. Next question from one of our listeners is, what are the top 3 skills you would say every young entrepreneur needs to have if they want to make something successful?
Well, number one, you need to know how to market your product or your art, whatever. Because if you know how to market, then you'll be good. Like I know if at the drop of a hat, I know how I could grow a list of email subscribers to sell something that I want to make. There's no doubt in my mind. So if you can learn how to do that, you're good, you're set. And you won't have any trouble making money. And I didn't believe that before I joined this business, but now that I've learned the skill set, it's absolutely true. When people say that, it's so true. And marketing, not just Facebook ads or Instagram ads, but also learning how to market yourself on social media, learning the formulas to make good YouTube videos or Instagram reels. There's a formula for everything, including Facebook ads. So if you can learn how to do that, then you will know how to grow an audience and how to sell to them. Selling things that people love, that they're interested in, that will change their life or driving a passion or something. So that's number one. Number two would probably just have an ownership mindset. You need to not be a tire kicker. So calling out the tire kickers, just stop it. Take ownership. Because when you take responsibility for the things that you want to do in life, it changes the way that you approach things. And you will actually get results if you take full ownership and responsibility. And you're like, I'm going to put 110% effort into this, no matter what it takes. So for me, that meant I've never stayed up late or gotten up super early. Like I'm talking like 4 a.m. or something like that to make sure that everything's good to go for a product launch. That was completely new to me. But saying, I'm going to be willing to do that. And if that's a whole week, or if I have to do that multiple times throughout the holidays to make sure that this goes well, then so be it. So being able to take that extreme ownership of whatever situation, whatever business, that will take you a long way.
And you did that too. During Black Friday, you were up at 5 a.m. on Black Friday morning, or it was super early. And we
Mhm.
kind of all were, but like you were up, you were planning on it. It's like, cool, this is what it takes. And yeah, it worked out really well. You did a great job. We had a good month. And December did even better. So
It
it
did.
was like, that's because you're getting better all the time. And I'm sure next Black Friday, it's going to be double or triple just because we'll have a bigger customer base. We'll have more awareness. Like it's all going to snowball from here. So, third skill, what does every young entrepreneur need in order to be successful with their pursuing?
The third skill is, and this is more of an approach, and that is setting goals that are unrealistic. So set goals that are like stupid unrealistic. You're like, I would never hit that. So for me, I think the first month it was like, we haven't done a $30,000 monthly yet. So I'm going to set 30,000. And we did hit 30,000. And so for the next one, I was like, okay, well, let's do 50. And so we hit 39. Then the next month we did 40. And so I set, okay, we did 40. I'm going to set 60. It's like, it's a little far out of reach, just enough to push you, but it's within reason. And so that month, so that was December, we ended up doing 49, almost 50. We were like this close to hitting 50. I was like, oh, come on. We were so close. And so set goals that are a little bit out of your range because they're close enough that you think, well, it's possible that I could hit that, but it's far enough away that you have to push a little bit. And so it's kind of that almost like a balance of pushing you out of your comfort zone while being within reason. And so that's probably a concept that I took from making videos for my YouTube channel was like, I want to hit 500,000 views on a video. And so I learn, I analyze, I adjust, and I was able to get a video that is close to that. So setting goals that are ambitious is probably the third skill that I would say young entrepreneurs need, because if you don't have that drive, if you don't have the goal that drives you to go even further than your current capacity, then you'll probably stagnate. So you need to set ambitious goals.
That's really good because I find that a lot of people I talk to, a lot of people I coach, they're always trying to be realistic. And I was like, that's where dreams go to die, is trying to be realistic. That's where anything you want to do in life, it just dies in the abyss of realistic goals. So let's go big because it's kind of like that old saying, shoot for the moon and you'll land among the stars or whatever it is. Maybe I have it backwards, but the idea is make the goal way bigger because we have to first imagine that it's even possible. If we can't imagine it, we're never going to hit it. We just aren't. So we have to first imagine what that goal is going to be and put ourselves in the feeling, almost feeling like we've done it already. So we know, like, hey, that's a familiar feeling because there's something that happens in the brain when we set the target really big and then we start aligning our actions with the thoughts that align with the imagination, like this possible future that hasn't happened yet. So, some people try to make it some woo-woo thing, but there's a lot of neuroscience behind this. And so you're picking up a lot of this already, which is great. So you shot for a target that was a little uncomfortable, which is great. Like the fact that you're learning this in the first 6 months of being involved in a business and taking ownership like this is phenomenal. Like phenomenal. Some people just never learn this. And so I'm always trying to coach our clients to go way bigger and don't just make it bigger. And because like you got to believe it. You actually have to convince yourself and believe and almost be like delusional. Be more delusional in feeling like this is really possible. So the more delusional you are, the bigger things you accomplish. Like look at Elon Musk. Like he's like, we're going to Mars. Like, okay, buddy. But he actually is like set on doing that. What would be the most surprising thing you would say about working with your parents? What's been the most surprising working with us?
It has been the most liberating job it's not a job, it's a lifestyle. I thought that I would be drowning in work, but compared to my previous job, which was a part-time job, I have a lot more freedom of movement financially in terms of my life interacting with you guys than I previously had. Before it felt like I was in chains, like, oh, I need to get X amount of hours so I can pay X, Y, and Z this month. But now that's only a small part of it. And it's like I'm motivated now because I can shoot for the stars and there's nothing holding me back. And so you guys have encouraged me on that. And during this apprenticeship, I would say one thing that I will also replicate with my kids is that when they show that they have what it takes and they achieve the things that they set and that you guys set together, then they're rewarded for that. And it's kind of like there was nothing holding me back. And so I could shoot for the moon and you guys encouraged it. And so it was a lot more freeing than my previous job and than what I even had in my mind conceptually, just because there was so much freedom in being able to take ownership of my time, ownership of the finances of a business, and having to learn so much, drinking from the fire hose, as they say, and then having to put it to practice.
Yeah, I mean, this is no joke. I mean, you're filling out this CEO scorecard that we created where you're putting in like the North Star metrics. Like these are, I mean, you're tracking everything leads and ad spend and average order value and lifetime value and cost per to acquire each. I mean, it's no joke. You're doing CEO level stuff. I'm training you now. I consider this whole thing an apprenticeship and you're learning the finance side, you're learning the marketing side, you're learning everything because that's a business owner has to be proficient, not expert level, but proficient at everything till you get to a place later on where you can hire, the specialists and whatnot. So that was my goal for you doing an excellent job. And I know people are going to be excited to listen to this. It's like this kid just did multiple six figures, and how much am I involved in the day to day? Because people are going to probably listen skeptically and be like, yeah, but Leah probably was telling Ryder what to do. And she was probably in there like doing stuff.
It has gotten more and more me making the executive decisions and as time has gone on. So in the beginning, there's more because I was
There was a
so brand new.
transition though.
Yeah,
Yes.
there was a transition period. And so as I learned to take more and more ownership, the amount of time that it became my responsibility to make the big decisions increased. And so now I might ask you here and there for a couple of things, your thoughts on something. We have a weekly meeting, all of us, to just catch up, make sure we're on track for our quarterly goals, yearly goals. That's pretty much it. So
Yeah, I'm even passing off because in the past I was fully in charge of all product development in the brands, and I'm even training you guys in that too. Like you just literally made a recipe, like a candle recipe the other day, and that's what we went with. So now you know how to do the product development too, and so is Electra. So you guys know this process, and then working with her because she works with the designer, and you guys collaborate. So it's very collaborative. So there's ownership and collaboration. And I think that's a key skill too that I don't think the average person even knows how to do in the workplace. Like if you just go get a job somewhere, they don't even know how to do that. And it's been fun seeing you thrive in this environment too. Like when you said, can you elaborate on this when you said it is the most liberating thing that you've ever done compared because now you've had a job and now you have been in an entrepreneurial seat. How is this more liberating? When you talked about the time you felt chained when you had a job versus now, can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. So I would say for the amount of effort that you put into something, it can be double, triple, 10 times that. Because the amount of effort and time you put into something in a business, it's not like there's a limit or a threshold, it's exponential. And so I found that in the really tough seasons, so going back to Black Friday, probably the most jam packed season I've ever had in my entire life so far. That was crazy. Getting up at 5 a.m. for a couple of weeks in a row and staying up late to do stuff. That was crazy. Full days. And so when you put in that amount of effort with true intensity and purpose, like you're not just filling up your time and being busy for the sake of it. You're like, I'm going to go 120% into this and I am going to put all my effort into this, however much time it requires. Your business and the money will reflect that. So it's not like there's a threshold. And so seeing the results was satisfying because it was like, there's no limit. It's just however much I put in was put back out. And so it's more of like the limiting factor isn't the business, it's you, it's your limiting beliefs, it's your capacity, whatever you say it is. And so it was liberating compared to my previous job because it was like, I have to put in X amount of hours for a limited, a capped amount of money back versus however much time I put in, it can grow far, it can surpass that, however much effort I put into it, if it was true effort and true purpose. And entrepreneurship, if you're doing it right, it's also passive to a degree, even though we're in e-commerce, because people are buying while you're not working on it. So, in a sense, it also gives you freedom of time. So, you can choose where you want to place your time for how long and how much intensity. And so, sometimes that means for a few weeks or months, you need to be all in on the business. And sometimes it means you have a couple of afternoons or more to work on something else that you enjoy doing. And so that's the beauty of entrepreneurship is it ebbs and flows and the growth follows your character. So if you have a poor character, then your business will reflect that. And if you are willing to roll with the punches and learn from your mistakes, then your business will grow.
Whoa, some words of wisdom. Whoa, that was good. I mean, that reminds me of a couple of things because I like that you said that there's sometimes some seasons where you got to, go max, go real, like all in. It's intense for a season. It's not forever, but like, hey, it's going to be some longer days. And then, and then there's other times, like, for example, we were in Italy with our whole family and relatives for 3 weeks, and you got tons of enjoyment and you checked in, making sure nothing went up in flames. You did a little bit of work, but most of the time was hanging out, walking the streets of Italy, tasting the spaghetti. Like we had the best time. And so, the freedom of time thing. Yes. So it's like there's so much more responsibility, but with that comes also flexibility. I mean, Dad and I are never telling you should get back to work, Ryder, and you need to be up at this time. Like, no, you control your own schedule. You control your own time. You decide when your workouts are. Like, you are fully designing the day around how you feel, actually. What I also see you do, that I think this is a great tip for young entrepreneurs as well, and for anyone, is I noticed you've shifted your schedule about what you're working on when, and when you do workouts and when you do different things based on your energy levels at the time. There's been some times where you're like, you know what? I'm going to get my workouts done first thing in the morning because I know that it's not going to happen later. And then I've seen it vice versa where you're doing it in the afternoon. Like you've switched things up based on how you need to adapt for that season. And so I think that's a really good thing. I don't know if you want to talk more about that.
Yeah, adaptability is a huge thing because I'm not naturally an adaptable or flexible person at all. And so business forces you to adapt or you sink like the Titanic. And so the holiday season, the busiest season of the year, especially for e-commerce, will put you through the ringer like nothing else. And if you do not adapt, then you will not grow. It will flop majorly. And so I had to go, okay, I mean, I don't like it, but I guess I have to change something. And so that meant doing things outside of the ordinary, like getting up at the crack of dawn and doing my workouts, which is, I mean, it was insane, but also vice versa. But also meaning in seasons where things aren't so crazy, maybe it means for me right now, it means getting the work on the business done first thing. So then I have time later in the day to do something else. And so you get the most important thing done. For me, that's the business. And then secondary things follow after. And so, yeah, there's learning adaptability was a huge part of the growth.
Well, that's awesome, Ryder. Tell everybody, what else are you working on? Like, what are your passions besides working in the family business? What else are you, building this year? What are your other areas of focus?
So we mentioned it earlier, but I run a YouTube channel where I analyze movies and media from a Christian perspective. And so that's my channel is Ryder the Omniscient. I know, super modest name. It's not serious, by the way. It's supposed to be ironic. So that's one of the things that I do. That's one of my passions. One of the things I love doing is reading the comments and just seeing how inspired people are about just seeing movies through a different lens and seeing how great storytelling can be. And so that's a passion of mine.
I thought you were going to say, I love reading the troll comments.
Well, that's fun too. I mean, you learn to have fun with it. If they're sarcastic, you shoot right back at them with sarcasm. I mean, if you can do that.
I got a good one today. Oh, and this is on like some of my content. Homeschooling is illegal in other countries for a reason. What should I say back? Because you're really good at the clapbacks.
Do they also know the studies about homeschoolers having better degrees in education than public schoolers?
Probably not. But I feel like
That's a good one.
replying is a waste of time. I saw another one today. Oh, it was on a video of mine that said that manifestation isn't demonic. And then they said, actually, it is. It's like, well, that was intelligent.
Have you ever used your imagination
Yeah.
to think about an outcome?
And then gone and done it.
Yeah. When you imagine drinking your cup of coffee the next morning, you're manifesting.
Yeah. I manifested that coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to apply that title of demonic to a number of things, buddy.
And then another one, I don't know if it's the same guy, keep just trolling me on everything, but another one on that same video, the devil is working hard today through you. He's giving the devil way too much credit. I'm bad enough as it is.
Some comments just make no sense.
They don't even make sense, but it's funny. Sometimes you post the troll comments too, and then you have these hilarious comebacks for them. I think this is just for your own pure entertainment. That's the part that I think people might not know about you is like humor is a really big part of your personality. You're very serious on this interview, but humor is like big for you and in our family. Like we have so many inside family jokes that will never make sense to anybody unless they get married, and then I feel sorry for them on some of them.
Yeah, I mean, with business and just life in general, you need to know when to not take yourself super seriously. And so, yeah, with troll comments, I've learned to have fun with it and just, you know what? Maybe they're having a bad day or who knows? So I'm going to say something funny back, you know?
Yeah, have fun with it. Okay, so you've got your YouTube channel, Ryder the Omniscient. He does all these commentaries, it's been taking off. And then what else?
I'm also a filmmaker and musician. So currently writing my first album. So I'm a classical musician. And so I'm writing my first album.
Woohoo! I happen to know a little bit about releasing music and building a fan base and that kind of stuff. Just saying.
Yeah.
So that's awesome, though. I'm so happy you're finally doing that, making it official, because you've released several singles, but now you're turning it into a whole album project, which is great. Awesome. Well, any last words for our listeners if they have been skeptical of themselves, if they haven't believed in themselves that they could do something like this? Like, what would you say to them if they're like, I don't know, is entrepreneurship for me? I've tried other things and they haven't worked. Like, what would you say to them?
I'm going to say something blunt. Business does not reward tire kickers. So if you're a tire kicker, I'm sorry, you need to change your mindset or it's not going to work. So if you've been stalling and there's an idea that you've been thinking about and you want to see it grow, then take action. Money follows action. It goes somewhere and it requires action and progress.
We'll leave on this note. Thank you so much, Ryder, for joining us. And you can go follow him on his YouTube channel. We'll link to all of that in the show notes. And we'll see you next time.